I am no longer asking you. I'm telling you. You will play the Mega Man TCG. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank with it. You are having a great day, and in today's video, I'd like to sit back in the very squeaky chair, relax, and have a little conversation with all of you guys about, well, not dead TCGs, but potentially dead TCGs. The overall state of the TCG market and where I think some of these card games are going. We are not here today to talk about Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, because I think right now those games are pretty well understood by the wider audience. Magic the Gathering is going strong, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going okay, and Pokemon is going... it's going all right. Just keeps going. Anyway, in today's video, I'd like to talk about some of the other TCGs out there that are currently in production, what I think about them overall, where they're currently at in terms of overall health, and what my predictions for their future may or may not be. So without any further ado, let's get into it with Lorcana. Honestly, one of the most surprising breakout stories. We've talked about Lorcana on this channel at length before, and while I started off very pessimistic, in the last year or so, Lorcana really has turned it around to the point where I'm honestly telling you guys, doesn't look that bad. In fact, looks quite good. The newest set, Wilds Unknown, I wrote down some notes here so that I could not get completely sidetracked, you know, so I don't go off on the crazy tangents. Lorcana's growing. Wilds Unknown boxes are currently at $230, which is not bad at all. But more impressively, it's got a $4,000 or $5,000 card in that box, the iconic rare Buzz Lightyear, which is crazy to think about, honestly, that you have a chance of pulling such a huge price tag card from from any box in any TCG, honestly. But Lorcana being the one that has it is the one that really throws me for a loop, if I'm being honest. I was surprised by the Mickey, and I'm equally surprised and impressed by this Buzz Lightyear. You know, a lot of people look to One Piece as the card game that has all the big value, the big hits, especially Pokemon too. But we won't talk about Pokemon. We will talk about One Piece. But yeah, loud truck zipping by. It does need to be said that there is a lot of surprise value in the world of Lorcana, and maybe all those Scalper Bro, Sneaker Bro guys are looking at the wrong place, because, geez, at the price tag some of these cards are, and there are a lot of other expensive cards in these sets, do not get me wrong, the Buzz Lightyear, I can't say that word, hang on, Buzz Lightyear, I guess I have to make it 2 words. The Buzz Lightyear being $4,000 is just the most impressive. There are some other really cool cards in Wilds Unknown. So maybe the booster boxes are a bit too cheap. Who knows? I sure as heck don't. I don't like to make predictions about future prices, but you know, it seems to me that if you can pull $4,000 or more out of a booster box for only $230, I don't know, that lottery ticket number seems a bit skewed. But let's move on before I ramble about that for too long. One Piece. It's hyped. It is as hyped, if not more so, than Pokemon right now. There are a lot of the same kind of people you see buying up Pokemon, buying up One Piece, and not without good reason. There is a lot of genuine excitement, genuine collectability, desirability to the card game. Overall, especially when you consider how much One Piece has grown as a franchise in the last, 3 years or so. Now, the most recent set, Time of Battle, is on the horizon. I think it's coming out on the 12th. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's on the 12th. And there's a lot of highly anticipated cards, especially the new SP rares, which are all reprints, I think. But they all look really nice. That Nico Robin looks nice, and they're all highly desirable. Even the Cavendish. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I don't really care to do it correctly, because I don't respect the character. I don't like him very much. Even his card seems to have some desirability behind it, which is impressive, all things considered. Maybe it's just anything from One Piece has desire, but it is what it is. Digimon. The newest set isn't out yet, but Dual Revolution has been out for a tiny bit now. And it's getting sales. Honestly, a $100 booster box is not the craziest thing in the market, especially compared to its One Piece cousin. But inside of those boxes are some really nice, desirable cards. And while I think Lorcana has turned around from a game I wouldn't have any interest in into a game that I do genuinely think is something worth looking at as a collectible and investable, something like that. And One Piece is currently in the most hyped market it's been in since the release of the game. I think Digimon right now is in a nice, easy medium. Yeah, it's not crazy. It's not blowing anything away. There's no one getting into fights in Target parking lots over it. But at the same time, it's a nice collectible that has some genuine fans. There are people returning to the game for the first time in over a year for it. And it doesn't have people getting into fights in the Target parking lot for boxes. It's a nice, kind of cozy experience, I think, to see a game that I personally really enjoy, because Digimon is a game that I enjoy more than a lot of what else is out on the market. I like it more than a lot. It's nice to see it holding strong, doing well, and genuinely finding its fan base. There are some cool stuff. There's some cool stuff coming in the next set, but for now, Dual Revolution looks nice. It's got some impressive pulls in it. I wish I could have cracked more of it, but it is what it is. And I'm looking forward. I'm optimistic about its future, because if Bandai can keep it going, I'm optimistic that it will, much like how One Piece has found its audience, I think Digimon will find its wider audience, especially because there's a new anime out, Beat Break. Looks pretty good. I've only seen a few episodes. It's fine so far. But there's a lot of Digimon out there, so I'm optimistic about its future. I'm not optimistic, however, about Star Wars Unlimited's future. Here we go. It's time for me to say the line. It'll be dead by the end of the year. I can feel the comments getting posted now, in fact. In all honesty, Star Wars Unlimited is not looking great. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm optimistic. I hope it pulls around. I hope the TCG unfucks itself. But look, Lawless Time was unimpressive, to say the least. Twin Suns completely failed to impress, even with that big sale where it did have initially good numbers, all things considered. No denying that. But after that, it seems to have tapered off, with sales really decreasing for the product, and only a handful of singles really seeming to, now there's a train, only a handful of singles really seeming to garner interest from that deck set. Lawless Time overall just really seems to fail to have stuck the landing. And it's not helped, I think, that right now the Star Wars franchise is at an all-time low in terms of cultural relativity. I mean, Lorcana, Disney's core audience, goes for that, right? One Piece is on the rise in terms of cultural relevance. There is a huge number of people getting into the manga because of the Netflix show bringing more attention to the franchise, and that brings attention to the card game, which creates this whole circular growth, I think, of card game growing, so people get curious, which brings more people to the card game, which makes more people curious, all that jazz. Digimon's doing fine because it has its core audience established and just kind of needs to see if it can't break out into a wider audience. But Star Wars is actively losing its audience. The Mandalorian and Grogu, I watched it, it's not great, it was awful. It was a flop insofar as I'm concerned, and insofar as a lot of other people are concerned. And it's safe to say that Disney Star Wars overall, in my opinion, has not been great and has chased a lot of people out of the franchise. And that reflects on the card game itself, with not too many people over interested in getting any kind of collectible for Star Wars, for the newer Star Wars, I should say. Die-hard, older Star Wars fans still have those older toys, older trading cards that they will, of course, go out of their way to get. But Star Wars Unlimited is not one of those older, highly sought-after collectibles. It is a new, kind of janky card game that has a lot of inspiration and characters from the newer Star Wars mythos that not a lot of classic fans care for. And that does affect it in the long term. I think the Mandalorian and Grogu flop will I don't want to say that a move you flop will harm the card game, but it will not bring new attention to it, that's for sure. And overall, I remain pessimistic towards it. I'd like it to pull a Lorcana and turn around sometime in the near future, but I don't foresee that happening. Now then, moving on to something more positive, Flesh and Blood, and by more positive, I mean kind of sideways. So, Omens of the Third Age is here. It's out. I've cracked some boxes, 2 cases, and then some, I think. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, this is probably my worst case opening experience I've had for Flesh and Blood since jumping in as a player in Uprising. Uprising's when I started, I think. Started playing the game, at least. Yeah, Omens of the Third Age did not feel really good to open. My overall boxes were not impressive. The set itself doesn't really interest me one bit, but there seems to be some kind of, I don't know, collation issue or whatever. I got 3 of the same legendary foot piece in the 2 cases I had cracked open. And 2 copies of the exact same Marvel in 1 case. There's something going on there. Maybe I was just monumentally unlucky or whatever, but yeah, that strikes me as kind of odd, if I'm being honest. Overall, it's as a set not really impressive. Yes, there's a lot of fans of the new heroes. Yes, they're going to see play, and yes, I think Ziggy is silly as a hero. I'm not looking forward to playing against another illusionist. But overall, $300 a case is not terrible. It's not great. It's not blowing anything out of the water, but Flesh and Blood doesn't have a lot of cases out there currently that are above $300 in the affordability range, you know. Going backwards just a bit, Compendium of Wraith is still an absolute home run set, in my opinion. I do intend to get more of that here in the garage, just to have for myself, alongside some other older cases that I would just like to have. Looking at you, Bright Lights, I need some more of you. But let's move on to the final TCG I'm talking about here today, and my overall opinions towards it, and that's Sorcery, which is a silent grower. There's been a lot of mumblings about Sorcery lately. It seems that as time goes on and as it gets more and more annual releases, this game does bring in a small but dedicated crowd of people who are really enjoying what they see with it. And it's not hard to see the appeal. It is a very fun TCG from everything I could figure out. All the reviews are very positive, and it's got a lot going for it. Enough going for it, in fact, that over the last 3 months or so, Gothic cases have actually been on the rise. They've been silently sneaking upwards. They were at around $850 to $900 about 3 months ago. And now they've silently crept up to over 1,000 in a very short amount of time for what is otherwise a relatively minor TCG. That shows me that there is a lot of demand for this card game, and a lot of sealed product is vanishing overall with, again, it's not insano numbers. It's not cases and cases and cases selling every day. But honestly, how many cases of this stuff are out on the open market right now at that price point? How many more $1,000 cases can be bought up before there's none available overall? Something to consider. Personally, I think Sorcery is on the up and up. Not amazing, not blowing huge waves everywhere, but blowing huge waves everywhere. I could have worded that better. It is what it is. Sorcery is growing. It's definitely got its audience. Much like Digimon, it's not the loudest audience, but it's definitely there, and they're definitely loyal to the game. And I am curious to see where it's going in the future, because I think it's in a positive direction. So, overall, to summarize my thoughts, Lorcana's turned itself around really nicely and is looking strong. One Piece is still super hyped, much like Pokemon, and I don't foresee that hype ending in the immediate future. Digimon is not exploding, but it's also not stagnant. It does have some fans returning, and there's some really cool cards for it. Star Wars Unlimited exists. Flesh and Blood is still a very fun game that I'm still very excited to play. The most recent set just didn't impress me as all. And that happens with any card game that's got more than like 4 or 5 sets. You're going to have sets that not everyone likes. And then there's Sorcery, which is impressively growing. So overall, those are some of the minor TCGs out there. And of course, they all fail completely in comparison to the Mega Man TCG, which you should be playing right now. Go out and get yourself a deck. That's all I got for you kiddos today. Please like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Of course, check out the Discord, the Patreon, the TCG player link. All of those can be found in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.